Hello, everyone. We are going to present our knowledge integrating project. The members of the work team are Vanessa Rivera, Junior Gonzalez, Steven Cañar, and me, Jimena Quesada. The theme was design, management, and evaluating of contextualized, flexible, and adapted curriculum models for basic education, teaching English to young learners.
Now I am going to talk about the introduction. According to the Ecuadorian Ministry of Education, the act of listening is a highly complex process in which the listener must activate a schema, infer, predict, construct meaning, and use short and long-term memory functions almost simultaneously. The main problem that young EFL learners face is a misinterpretation of listening exercises. Without the ability to listen effectively, messages can be inaccurately received and interpreted in the communication process, which can less their effectiveness and consequently lead to misunderstandings. Therefore, the researchers consider that it's important to carry out a new research in order to know how to improve young learners' listening comprehension skill, making use of some activities such as listening to music, watching videos, PowerPoint presentation, and so on. This research work is a bibliographic in nature and is based on information from previous studies on teaching listening comprehension to young learners using the total physical response method. The objectives of this research are to identify the most suitable strategies to teach and listening comprehension to young learners using total physical response method. The second one, to analyze and select a strategy for teaching listening comprehension to young learners according to their age. The third one, to describe the role play as a strategy for teaching listening comprehension skills in young learners by using the total physical response. To carry out this project, the researchers use a descriptive methodology, in addition a bibliographic matrix, and a collection data table that contains the information of 20 previous studies. They were developed using the hermeneutic method.
The theoretical reference. According to the Ecuadorian curriculum, young learners are in the elementary basic level, and at the end of each level, young learners must be able to understand and use familiar everyday expressions and basic phrases. For example, personal information, daily life activities, curricular subjects, classroom equipment, and classroom comments. For this reason, it's important that the teacher use different strategies to teach and improve the listening skills of young learners, because listening is the initial stage in the first and second language acquisition.
The first topic of the theoretical framework is listening comprehension. Listening is an important skill that is developed when learning a new language, since it provides learners important linguistic input. It has an important role in human communication and even more in foreign language learners, given the fact that listening is significant not only to understand the language, but also to learn the language. Rose 2002 defines it is a method to receive, create, and exemplify the meaning that allow us to negotiate and to respond to others. Listening is included during most of the stages of the total physical response method, in the presentation of the vocabulary, in the student's oral recognition of said vocabulary, and finally in the practice stage where the teachers give commands or information students need to respond to in different ways. The next topic is the total physical response method. The total physical response method was found and developed by James J. Asher In the 1977, Asher studied the way that young children acquire language. He observed that babies spend the first years of his life just listening to language, and he noticed that although babies aren't speaking, they are still active users of the language by their physical responding to what is being said. The concept of the total physical response is that learners physically respond to oral commands which are given. Learners are expected to respond non-verbally to commands before they are expected to speak. This method is giving freedom for learners, especially to young learners, to feel comfortable and gain more self-confidence in learning language. In short, the TPR method is one of the most useful for teaching languages to young learners due to its multiple benefits.
Another aspect is the benefits of total physical response method. The total physical response has proven to be very useful to improve listening comprehension in young learners, since instruction of this method is easy and fun for young learners. Basically, it consists of listening carefully and physically responding to the teacher commands, which it turned out to be complicated for them. Also, it reduces the level of anxiety of the students since they don't have to worry about having to produce a language unless they are ready. Another aspect is the learner's roles. Learners in total physical response have the primary role of listener and performer. They listen attentively and respond physically to commands given by the teacher. Learners are required to respond both individually and collectively. They monitor and evaluate their own progress. And they are encouraged to speak when they feel ready.
Next, we have teacher roles. The teachers play an active and direct role in total physical response. The instructor is the director of a stage play in which the students are the actors. In fact, classroom interaction and turn-taking is teacher rather than learners directed. According to Usher, the teacher has the responsibility of providing the best kind of exposure to language so that the learners can internalize the basic rules of the target language. Next, we have improve listening comprehension by using role play in young learners. Based on two authors, Mayer, 2002, and Rao, 2012, they have shown that role-play pedagogy is very effective in reaching learning outcomes in three major domains: affective, cognitive, and behavioral. By making students take on the role of another person, they practice empathy and perspective taking. This can lead to more self-reflection and awareness on the part of students. When students take the skills they have learned in theory and put them in practice, this creates a deeper cognitive link to the material. Finally, according to Beer, 1995, using role play as a training tool helps students changing behaviors and as best practice in a real world settings.
Mimic to teach and improve listening comprehension in young learners. Meme can be used as a means of communication because at first the children will not understand what we want to tell them to do, or they will not understand us. But if we mix these sounds with mimicry, the students will understand a lot faster. Also, mimic serves as instrument to get to know students because it brings together elements such as free expression, imagination, and creativity that can it develops in the space of truth and freedom. Also, this gives the opportunity at the teacher to know their students because each student have a different form to learn. Also, we have previous studies. According to the previous studies of Jason Adrian, he said that the participation by the students increased due because the classes were more dynamic and interesting. Also, the previous study of Victoria Arias Calle about the total physical response, she said that asserts in her study that the total physical response method provides to be an interesting tool to practice the listening skill.
Now we have methodology. This research work was bibliography in Nature and aimed at describing the use of some strategies of the total physical response method for teaching listening comprehension ability. The researchers took as a sample 20 previous studies about the teaching of listening comprehension by the TPR method and role-play strategy. The data was collected in a bibliography matrix and classified through the hermeneutic method, which facilitates the description of the most important information of each document. In addition, the researchers developed a data collection table in order to organize the documents by similarity. This table helped to select the students that were more related to the topics of study. After analyzing the data, the researchers described it by using the descriptive methodology.
Now we have the results in discussion. In this section, some results from previous studies are described. It's important to mention that some researchers work with experimental and control groups, and some others work with a whole class. The researchers of this bibliographic research designed a table in order to classify all the papers according to their objectives. This was done with the objective of gathering the data in order to represent the results for each objective. So that for the first objective, we have the following results. After having analyzed the results of 20 studies previously carried out by certain authors, the researchers of this bibliographic research noticed that 50% of them, that represents the 10 papers, agree that the students make significant progress after implementing and applying the role-playing meaning along with the TPR method within an EFL class. This is stated by Bella Juanita Ulfa, 2016, who after applying a pre and a post test in which the scores went from 74 to 92, confirmed that role plays together with the TPR method is very effective, useful, and suitable. In the same way, Angela Victoria Arias Calle, 2016, claims that the students had a noticeable advance after applying role plays in miming within the EFL classes. In her research, students were able to understand basic commands, teachers' instructions, and questions related to their personal information. The researchers noticed this progress in the correct answer provided by the students when the teacher asked these questions orally to their students.
Next result. The data shows that 15% of their previous studies analyzed that the effective and incidence of the total physical response, TPR method, is very effective and useful to young learners. This is supported by the action research done by India and Binti 2019 and Gloria 2015, who found out that 91% of learners of the two different countries were able to improve their academic performance. This could be seen in the motivation and active participation of students in the classroom together with the teacher guide. To contrast, Gabriela Osorio 2014 argues in her results that the TPR persuades the students to experience the learning-free stress using both language and body movement that is appropriate to have long-term memorable learning. She confirms it by applying pre and post tests in which the score rose from 6.8 to 9.1 after the intervention.
50% of the previous studies analyzed show that the use of sounds and videos supported by total physical response method were effective strategies to develop listening comprehension in young learners, since they felt more motivated, relaxed, and activated during the application of these activities. Their interest in different topics also increased, and their participation in classroom activities improved. It allowed students to improve their ability to understand different words and expression in the target language. Baurami and Ismaili state that video materials and songs provide a motivating effect on students while being an interesting, relevant, and beneficial experience.
The 15 of the papers, 3 papers, explain to use how to effectively use the different strategies and tools to teach and improve listening comprehension in young learners. Since listening comprehension is the main skill to be able to acquire the English language correctly. Also, according with these papers, a good strategy that we can use to develop this ability is the use of songs and role plays. Also, according to the article by Sevic, developing listening skills is a fundamental component because they provide a meaningful and enjoyable language practice, especially in fostering language skills.
Finally, we have the conclusions for this research project. Taking into account the results and explanation extracted from previous studies carried out by some authors, it's possible to establish the following conclusion. Using role plays and miming as TPR strategy is very effective and suitable for teaching listening comprehension skill to young EFL students due to the physical action that must be performed when using them. Their effectiveness is reflected in the significant progress of the students' academic achievement and in the motivation and confidence they acquire to learn after having implemented these activities.
The second conclusion, TPR is one of the most accurate methods to teach listening comprehension skills in English. This is because the students directly practice the role play with their physical movement. Finally, these methods facilitate the acquisition of the English language significantly in the long term since TPR activities are fun, active, and entertaining.
One of the best ways to motivate students is to use different activities by using total physical response as a method, since it provides a dynamic class for young learners. In that way, young learners are motivated to pay attention and participate in the English lessons.
And finally, the strategies of this method are very interactive, where the students can participate actively. If the total physical response and its strategies to develop listening comprehension skills is used correctly in students, they will develop these skills effectively, since this method focuses on teaching English as the same form that the young learners acquire their first language.
To finish, the researchers of this bibliographic research conclude that the total physical response is a good approach to improve the listening comprehension skill in young EFL learners, because it facilitates the acquisition of English as a foreign language in children, since it works as a tool that is pleasing, interesting, and promotes curiosity in students. In addition, by using the role-play strategy of the total physical response method, a good educational environment can be created within the classroom, where students can actively participate and develop their listening comprehension skill more efficiently. This is our whole project. Thank you very much for your attention.